just wanted to show you some things I've been researching lately about this Old Testament Ahkenaton, and how it looks like even that, and how Ahkenaton relates to Moses. And it looks like that before the religion became Judaism, the Hyksos had infiltrated Egypt. Okay, and as I said before, in the 18th dynasty, which was the very last dynasty of Egypt, monotheism came about, which was the exclusion of all other gods and all centralized into one God. See that? And they're doing the same thing now, where they're going to centralize everything into one God. But before that, everybody had their main God that they worshipped. Everybody was an individual. Everybody knew more about. They didn't worship. They had spirituality. They were in contact with their selves and their selfhood. I can imagine, but there's a lot in here about sacrifice and other things too. And actually, I wanted to bring up I wanted to bring up a Bible verse that relates to this too. It's written right in the Bible. This was a God of war. Why do you think the Old Testament is so different than the New Testament? Because they change the religion. They tweak it all the time, and that's what's going on right now. I just saw some videos in certain circles. People are going back and forth about newer versions, translations not being the same as the King James version. When you think about it, had an authorized version, because that was the only one you were authorized to read. If you were caught reading any other version that wasn't authorized, it was your head. But anyway, they change all the time. These religions, it changed from Atonism to Judaism from Egypt until Moses or Akhenaten was expelled from Egypt. It changed to Judaism. Then it went to Christianity. Now it's moving into something new. And they're retranslating the words and they're redoing the words just like they did before Egypt. This goes on before Egypt, but I'm starting at Egypt right now, and then I'm going to work my way back. And I got a lot of other things on my plate too, like the Saturnalian Brotherhood. I'm going to read you a quote out of a book that I'm reading, Fire and Ice, the Brotherhood of Saturn. But anyway, here's an article from hiddenmysteries.org, which has resources in it, which is why I like it, because you got resources to check out, like Professor Se'ev Herzog and other things. You can research him and see what he's all about or whatever. But in a September 22nd, 2002 speech, and this is from 2004, mind you, so people have known this since 2004. They must be pulling their hair out too. But anyway, in a September 22nd, 2002 speech to visiting Christian Zionist Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon asserted, "This land is ours. God gave us the title deeds." However, recent scholarly research, including discoveries by an archaeological team from the University of Tel Aviv, not only deconstruct the biblical Old Testament and Torah stories upon which this claim rests, but grant previously unthinkable credence to an ancient historian's claim that the Israelites of Exodus were actually the Hyksos, and therefore of Asiatic origin, which also will go back to Ireland and Druidism, as Michael Tessarian has figured out. And there's plenty of resources on his site at michaeltessarian.com. If you don't agree with him, look into his resources. jordanmaxwell.com, his links page has a ton of stuff to get you thinking in the right direction on what to search for, to do your own research and to find your own path to this truth. I'm just pointing things out. I'm not telling you to believe me. It's up to every one of us, and to look in this ourselves, and not to take what we've been given as fact. History goes back way back further than the Masoretes, and you're told this big secret about a name, Yahweh or Yahuwah, but you don't even know where that came from. You know it was hidden, and now everybody's privy to it. So now it's this big secret, but it's just another trap, as far as I see it now. And I'm admitting I'm wrong by saying this, because if you've been subscribed to me any amount of time, or have known of my channel any amount of time, you know that at one time I subscribed to that name, and I didn't go, and that's a mistake we make. We don't go back far enough. This goes way back, people. Like I said, Antonism was the first. It was exclusion of other gods, not the worship of one god, but exclusion of all other gods wrapped into one. Okay, and it goes on to say here, all hell broke loose in Israel in November of that year when Professor Ze'ev Herzog of Tel Aviv University announced the Israelites were never in Egypt, did not wander the desert, did not conquer the land, and did not pass it on to the 12 tribes. Moreover, the Jewish god YHWH the Tetragrammaton had a female consort, the goddess of Ashura. And this is proven. If you go to this article, I'll leave the link in the description area and follow the resources and the people, you'll see that they found writings saying this. Okay. His conclusion that the kingdom of David and Solomon was best a small tribe or monarchy. Okay. Let's see. Knowing this name as the use of, for now we'll go with the text as Yahweh. The use of Yahweh as the name of God has always fueled speculation and philosophical argument. The Tetragrammaton, sometimes pronounced Jehovah, is taken to mean I am, and explains all that. The identification of the goddess Ashura as his consort somewhere within original Jewish faith leads to some explosive conclusions about the identity of the Jewish Christian God of the cosmos, the one monotheistic God with whom we are so familiar from Western religion. So the monotheistic religion didn't start, was never heard of until the 18th dynasty of Egypt. Ahkenaton, who was the last ruler of this monotheistic religion, was then expelled around the same time as Moses. Ahkenaton had a brother named Thutmoses. Some say that was his father. There was another person in his family with Moses, Mosis in the name, or Mos. But we know what they do with translations. This thing with translations being corrupted has been going on long before the Masoretes, long before this name started even being used. It was El before that. It talks about that in the, I think, earlier section. I'll post this link. This is better for you to read it yourself and follow. Everybody's on their own path, on their own journey. So it's better for you to go look at this with your own eyes and then go follow whatever path you go on. Yourself will lead you. To the Sumerians, she was in Anna and is an important character in the Sumerian epics. To the Assyrians and Babylonians, she was Ishtar. Ashtoreth was her name for the Canaanites. To the Greeks, Aphrodite, the Romans, Venus. The most important equivalent, however, is the Egyptian goddess Hathor, who the Greeks identified with Aphrodite. Hathor was the wife of Horus, the god of war. The god of war. Okay, what does Tetragrammaton or Yahweh say he is the god of war, right? Hathor is identified with the symbol of the cow, and statues of her in the 26th dynasty in Egypt actually depict her as a cow. Okay? So, this is not a new story. It's an old story with a new twist. It's an old story with new names, like a lot of people have been saying for a very long time. Another thing this is, it's a psychic dictatorship run by the royals, who are run by the hidden hand. And, the royals, and then you got all the break-off groups, Trilateral Commission, Club of Rome, politicians, corporate billionaires, CEOs, okay? All part of this order, all become that rich because they were helped out or allowed to, or infiltrated a good idea that came along, offered someone an offer they couldn't refuse. They've never seen that much money in their life, and then infiltrate it and take over, like Tesla. Anyway, So it goes on to explain that. Okay. Here's a really good trick. I know this is going to be a long video, but if you go up here to edit and then you click find, you get a thing down here and you can find out where the next spot you want to be at with one of the words in that, a keyword. Okay. Moreover, the Jewish god Yahweh had a female consort, the goddess Ashura. His conclusion that the kingdom of David and Solomon was at best a small tribal monarchy. Okay. It goes on and describes all this. A Tel Aviv University's archaeological investigation at Megiddo, an examination of the six-sided gate. It goes on to tell you about that. So this is all University of Tel Aviv and stuff like that. Okay, so here we go. Sorry about that. This is all stuff from universities and things like that, and references you can follow to go confirm this for yourself. Do thorough research. No shortcuts. Trust in yourself, not a leader, a teacher, or anybody. This needs to be investigated further, though. That's all I'm saying. Okay, according to the biblical scholars who focus on the P source for the Old Testament, Yahweh as a name is first used with Moses in Exodus and is indicative of monolithry, exclusive worship of one of many gods, rather than monotheism. So it's exclusion. It was not worship of one God, which people did. They would worship one God of many, but they all have their different ones. Okay, this is exclusion of those to one God, monotheism. And this is what they want to bring us to in the end, further down the road, is one world religion, one world government, when we really should, it all should be on our individual preference through morals, truth, and justice, through nature. The name Yahweh can also be translated as I am and all that. El Shaddai is still venerated in the Jewish faith in the form of tefillin, one of the two small leather cube-shaped cases containing Torah texts, traditionally to be worn by males. Yeah, they wear it on their forehead. In Exodus, okay. However, Jan further states, further in the article, however, John Assman, a prominent Egyptologist at Heidelberg University, is quite positive in his writings that the Exodus story is a inversion of the Hyksos expulsion, and furthermore, that Moses was an Egyptian. Okay, the Hyksos were who infiltrated Egypt and eventually brought it to monotheism. Okay, which links back to Druidism in Ireland, but that's a whole new, different story. It's something you'll find if you dig. If you go to michaeltessarian.com and dig through the stuff he has and his references, and go other places too. jordanmaxwell.com has a link page. You can do Google searches too. I wouldn't do just a Wikipedia. I would get references and read it with objective eyes, and I would get references from that Wikipedia article and follow those references. Like names, periods of time, Egyptian or whatever it says, Hyksos. Those are some key words to remember. Likewise, Donald P. Redford of Toronto University presents striking evidence that the expulsion of the Hyksos from Egypt was inverted to construct an exodus of the Hebrew slave story in the Torah and the Old Testament. His book, which argued this theory, Egypt, Canaan, and Israel in Ancient Times, was winner of the 1993 Scholarly Book in Archaeology Award of the Biblical Archaeological Society. And you can do a Google search for this, just do a Google search for best scholarly book in archaeology, highlight it like that with your left click and then right click it, and copy, and then do the same thing, right click in Google search and put paste, and then search. And it goes on to explain that in Lower Egypt in the 17th century BCE, they ruled there from c. 1674 BC until expelled when their capital Avaris fell to Ahmose around 1567 BCE. And this isn't the only name with M-O-S-E on the end, or M-O-S-I-S, Moses, osmosis, Thutmose. Translate that. You can translate that to Moses very easily. And these are the things that they do. Okay? The Hyksos in Egypt worship Set, who, like Ish-Kur, they identified as a storm deity. That's the same thing that Yahweh is of war and the storm. There's Thutmose right here. See, the third talks about that. Moses' success in 1567 BCE led to the establishment of the 18th dynasty in Egypt. Thutmose III overthrew the transvestite pharaoh Hatshepsut, and under Thutmose IV, Egyptian conquest extended beyond the Sinai to Palestine, Syria, region Babylonia, and included Canaan. Okay? So, there's that. And then I got one more here. The Hyksos. Oh, it's at the bottom here somewhere. It's something else to show you real quick. Very interesting. I read this whole article. Doesn't take too long. Where is it? Sorry, everybody. Try this again. Hyksos found that Egypt did not want. Okay, I used a bad keyword for this section. There was something I wanted to show you. Okay, here's an interesting fact. Declaring all men to be the children of Aten, or the sun god, or the black sun, historians suspect Ahkenaton planned an empire-wide religion. He banned all idolatry, the use of images to represent God, and banned the idea that there was more than one supreme God. Okay, chew on that for a minute. Something in here related to sacrifice as well, and then I'm going to show you something out of the Bible. Okay, then it goes on to say, however, there is a clear historical record of post-Hyksos Egypt extending into the empire of Canaan, the land into which the Hebrews entered and lived, according to the biblical sources, for 400 years before establishing the kingdom of Solomon. The Hebrews living in Canaan were therefore under Egyptian rule. It is also there in Canaan that we make a comparison between Yahweh and the Canaanite Moloch, Baal, and extrapolate a polemic inversion of the story of Pharaoh ordering the death of all the firstborn in Exodus. The worshippers of Moloch sacrificed their firstborn children to their deity through immolation. Worshippers of Yahweh in Canaan were also known to carry out child sacrifice on occasion, especially in times of hardship. Although immolation, Holocaust, which Holocaust also means burnt offering, was supposedly frowned upon, slitting the children's throat, however, was acceptable. Now I'm going to show you this in the Bible, in Judges 11. Go read the whole chapter. I'm going to show you the gist of it, where this guy Jephthah promised the Lord his whoever came to his door, he would offer them up when he got, if the Lord would help, or Yahweh would help him win the battle against the children of Ammon. Okay? So in verse 33 here, it just says how he smote them. And then in verse 34, it's only 36 verses too. It's only 36 paragraphs. And Jephthah came to Mizpah unto his house, and behold, his daughter came out to meet him with timbrels and dances, and she was his only child. Beside her he had neither son nor daughter. And it came to pass, when he saw her, that he rent his clothes, and said, Alas, my daughter, thou hast brought me very low, and thou art one of them that trouble me, for I have opened my mouth unto the Lord, and I cannot go back. And she said unto him, My father, if thou hast opened thy mouth unto the Lord, do to me according to that which has been proceeded out of thy mouth. For as much as the Lord has taken vengeance for thee of thine enemies, even of the children of Ammon. And she said unto her father, Let this thing be done for me, let me alone 2 months, that I may go up and down upon the mountains, and bewail my virginity, and I and my fellows. But she went up to the mountains, because a virgin I believe a female had to be a virgin to be sacrificed, okay? So what happened was, in verse 39, it goes on to say, And it came to pass at the end of 2 months that she returned unto her father, who did with her according to his vow which he had vowed, and she knew no man, and it was a custom in Israel. So he sacrificed her to Yahweh. Go read Judges 11. Okay? That the daughters of Israel went yearly to lament the daughters of Jephthah. You know, and you can be in denial. This is sacrifice of a human life, and you know what? I'm starting to see that any life of nature is sacred. Whether they're from Iraq, Iran, India, Russia, Britain. I'm not talking about the governments. I'm talking about the people. The people who are just like us. The people who are of nature, just like us. Okay? Yahweh accepted this sacrifice. There's no way you could say, well, it was because to show you should keep your word. No. This is not what you think it is, man. You think someone who's out to destroy us isn't going to give us their book and twist it and make us think? They're in this to win this, man. So this is Judges 11. I'll put a note in the description area. I'll put the link to that article in the description area. You'll follow the sources, follow some of the keywords, and humanity is we need to gain knowledge. Knowledge is power for us. And humanity is suffering. People are starving. Children are starving. Children are devastated by losing their families and parents, and getting blown to pieces. They're seeing unimaginable things over there that you wouldn't even dream of seeing in a movie. You know, it's time for us to do our research. Please go to this article and then follow it and do the research. No shortcuts. You know, no shortcuts. Objective eyes. Know thyself and trust yourself. No one else. For the truth. And be totally honest about it. And totally pure. Thanks for watching. Take care.